do me a favor. I've switched back to my old microphone. I think I've sorted this out. If you can hear me clearly, it's all nice. It's all crispy. There's no problems. Just give me a thumbs up. Thank you, Sue. You're ahead of the game. Didn't even have to ask you, Sue. You were there with a thumbs up. Thank you, Veritas. Thank you, Valentin. Thank you, Tim, Max, Jeff, Neil, etc. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate that. Nothing worse than talking for 10, 15, 20 minutes. Cheers, Steve. And then realizing the microphone's not even working or it's clipping or something else is stupid. So hopefully this is better quality. The one before, I had problems where it would work and then it would go off. And I was like, you know what? It's not really worth the hassle. Hopefully you can see my screen. I'm pretty sure you can. You see that? You see the little shoots of green? That's British firepower there. The footsie's up a smidgen, not for the reasons we'd like, but we'll explain all in a minute. We're going to kind of go into, but that little green, there you go, 4 points up, and there's a sea of red. That feels like people waving the Union flag there. We'll talk about the markets in a moment. Anyway, welcome to the webinar, ladies and gents. We're going to talk about the AI Edge. Not even fully on the screen. Real world use cases for traders. So that's our plan. But what I like to do and kind of what's been working well and feedback has been pretty positive for this. We go through some what's going on in the markets, man, a hell of a lot's going on today. So we'll go through as much as we can. Just sort of look at some charts, some thoughts and some ideas, etc. Then we'll go back to the screen and we'll kind of run through the topic, which is one of my favorite topics at the moment. I know it's controversial. Hopefully you'll see the value in this and maybe have a few ideas of how to use, AI in your trading. And by the way, we're talking about AI. We're not talking about all these scam stuff that goes on of, get an AI bot to trade for you and sit on a beach. And no. We know better than that, boys and girls, don't we? This is more using things like ChatGPT, LLMs, chatbots, etc., to sort of assist us as traders in what we're already doing. So we'll talk about psychology. We'll talk about kind of trading plans. We'll talk about information edge, and I'll show you kind of something that worked quite well for me. And just kind of go through some of the things and just really cement ourselves where we are now. In the end, sort of coming to the end of 2025. So that's what we're going to do today. Let me just remind you, if I may. I know you've been here before. Many of you have. I'm kind of putting these things on the charts here. It's working. Hey, Seb's going back and forth to slides. Please understand this. I'll introduce myself in a moment, but please understand the risks involved when you're trading spread bet, CFD, any leveraged instrument. You know how margin works, right? If you're leveraged up to the short side today, you're going to be very nice. If you were long going into the morning, then you're going to get stung, and the losses get amplified when you're trading on margin when you're using leverage. So just understand the risk management tools that we like to use, which is position sizing, stop losses, understanding how slippage works, gap risk, user risk, headline risk, all that type of stuff. If you understand the risks involved and you're going with your eyes open, then good. But just make sure you do understand that before you kind of risk a penny, and also obviously make sure that you are happy to risk what you're happy to risk. You know what I mean? Make sure you can afford to lose money that you put on deposit. Okay, so where do we start? Let's introduce myself. Some of you new here. I'm Mark Holstead, trading for 20 plus years, lose track now, trade all different market environments, and the AI bull market is brand new to me, I have to say. I've traded, just missed the 1999. I was kind of starting in 2001, so I kind of was a bit of a bear market baby. Well, I was born in 2001, but when I started trading 2001, so I kind of cut my teeth in the bear market. But I've seen many different market conditions, and maybe that will add some context to what's going on today. I also run Traders Mastermind. You can sign up for that. It's a daily email. Okay, and talking about daily email, let's start with the NASDAQ. So on Thursday, I sent this, and this will come into context in a moment. Thursday, we had this tweet from the Cobisi letter. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's a great follow on X, this guy. And I think, by the way, X is valuable if you curate who you're listening to and who you're watching. And he basically said this, President Trump announced that US and China have reached a kind of 1 year peace, but basically a trade. I don't think it was a trade deal as such. Anyway, it kind of came to an agreement, and Trump said, on a scale of 0 to 10, it was a 12. I had a great meeting with Xi on his flight back. Now, that was kind of the rally here. Hopefully you guys can see this. Yes, you can. This kind of rally here was all about the hoping that would come to fruition, right? And on that morning on the Thursday, this was the first sign that things, and like I say, I was not predicting a top. That's not the sort of thing that I do. I don't go around making predictions. I'm a price action trader. I respond. But it's the first time I kind of said, hey, do you know what? This is interesting because as of 9 o'clock when I wrote the email, and it goes out at 11 o'clock in the morning, we were selling off. And is this a classic sell the news event? And like I said, like I said here, is like some things to look out for. And if you're trying to trade price action, is what's the rest of the overnight session, because there's some time to go before the US Open. By the way, we're going to talk about some currencies and stuff in a moment, so it's not going to be super exclusive on the indices. But this is kind of important for the backdrop of what's happening, I think. What does the Open look like? If we do get selling, what's the response? All these kind of price action metrics that we like to look for as traders. How does price behave around key levels, that type of thing. And kind of said that if this is the first real sell the good news day in a while, that tells us something. It's still a bull market, absolutely. One red day does not equal the top, but that has been the sort of tipping point a little bit since then. So I guess the moral of the story for that, let me just dig into this so we can see things a bit more. This is the Nasdaq, by the way, Nasdaq futures. The moral of the story of that is to kind of watch how the market is reacting to news. And that was the first indication that actually the market was a sell the news event. And we know a sell news event is the anticipation is there when the actual news comes out. If it's sold, that tends to be like all the buyers are already in. And this was kind of a big move here. Anyway, so let's move on. So then we had that range, and we stuck in that range for multiple days. Now, Linda Raschke, give her full credit for this one. She calls this, how does she call it now? An inside triangle, or three-bar triangle, sorry, three-bar triangle. And what a three-bar triangle is that you have day one here. I was going to see that, yeah, so the range of that. Day two is within day one's range, and day three is within day two's range. So you get this type of triangle, if you like, where each day is an inside day of the one before, and that tends to be a precursor for a good volatility breakout the next day being today. That's exactly what we've got today. So we're kind of putting the pieces of the puzzle together of like, okay, sort of the sell the news event didn't really kind of trigger a massive sell-off, so the bull market's still intact, and the bull market's still intact today, right? Well, this is back where we were a few days ago, when it looks bad on paper, but let's be realistic. This is what happens the rest of the week is more telling, I think. But anyway, concept of that of sell the news event, the three-bar triangle, expecting a breakout of that. Okay, fine. So where are we today? We're down pretty heavily. We've got this gap here that is almost filled on the Nasdaq futures. I'm using Nasdaq futures as opposed to the CFD just because we know that that's obviously what the majority of people are looking at. So what do we do from here? I think the important thing is, and when we've got to remember we're in a bull market, we have got to remember that it was a sell the news event. However, we also want to see where this closes today, where everything closes today. The Dow is down pretty heavily, but obviously then the tech stocks are hit more than Nasdaq. We have the Palantir earnings, which have missed. So we've got a lot of things to digest as traders. So I think that, from our perspective, depending whether you're trading, and we'll talk about cable and stuff in a moment, because there's all sorts of stuff going on. I think that if you are an intraday trader, you've got to be nimble. I would, like I said before, and we're talking about gold, I think that trying to make too many predictions now, I think that will wrong foot a lot of traders. A lot of traders were kind of buying this rally this morning and were wrong-footed. A lot of traders were maybe shorting into the lows here and have been wrong-footed. It's a kind of day like that where we need to see it resolve a little bit. Now, if you're an active day trader, this has probably been great trading for you. But let's just see where this closes, and don't forget that always looking at your daily chart for kind of context with this. YM, huge rally that kind of reversed back off. We haven't taken out the lows yet on that. Again, let's see where this closes. Is it a VWAP close? ES the same, Russell the same. Nasdaq, I think, is kind of super popular at the moment, of course. Right. Let's have a look at some other stuff. FTSE 100. Well, whoopee-doo, FTSE is actually up today. Now, this was probably because pound being down. Now, pound was hit. This is the first time for a while I've got actually involved in currency stuff, because Rachel Reeve came out and she basically said, listen, we're going to absolutely butcher the hell out of British citizens, and the pound didn't like that, of course. So the pound sold off the biggest range move we've had for a long time, and it was already under pressure. So let me just get this, because I'd like to show the range. Yeah, so that's our range. That's a pretty decent range of move here. Multi-month lows, something to watch, something that's definitely in play here. Yen, of course, in play. But the pound, the reason the FTSE I think was rallying so hard is that a lot of the companies have earnings in a foreign currency, so pound strength would mean they make more. So this is why the FTSE's gone up. I think there's no point getting into fundamentals too much about this, but that's kind of what's happening. And my feeling of this is this may well continue. You know, I'm not positioned on this, but it may well continue until we kind of come to the budget 26th, is it? So this is definitely a pair that's in play, and obviously watching this on the budget day to see how it responds. Okay, we can't look at every single thing, but what is also interesting today, I think, is things like it's a mess. I won't put you all the stuff on there. Tesla, Nvidia, Palantir. But there's one thing to remember, look at the charts. It looks bad on paper, right? Oh, they're down 3%, 4%. Nasdaq's down nearly 2%. But look where we are on the daily. We have not really done anything, right? And so by all means, I think consider little A to B shorts, little quick moves. I'm never going to tell you not to do that. I never tell another man or woman how to trade for sure. But I think just put things in context. If it's really the top and we really start to kind of have that AI bubble burst, as everyone's saying, there'll be loads of opportunities for the downside. But the moment we have just undone a few days worth of work, and it just looks heavy because we're up so much. Like this was a real kind of blow off top, if you like. If it is a blow off top, there will be much more downside to come. There's no rush. It'll become clearer. You'll have kind of spikes that fail. That'll be a key thing. If we kind of continue lower, have a green day that then fails, that will be a lovely position to potentially short because you kind of need that fuel. And on the flip side, if we do a lot of downside movement and then recover hard, you know, a lot of people have come out of their long positions, a lot of people are stuck short, and that will create even more fuel for the upside. So there's no rush, right? There's no rush with stuff like this. I think that whatever you're trading, whether you're trading Nasdaq, whether you're trading S&P 500, whether you're trading the Dow, whatever it might be, even if you're trading intraday, it's just being patient. There's enough opportunity here. The ranges are huge. The ranges are huge. It's just picking your spots and, you know, not letting the narrative of this is super bearish or this is super bullish get into your brain. It's like, I will let price tell me. I understand the bull argument, understand the bear argument. Let price tell you. And that's when you go, okay, what do I need to see on price to give me a real indication? You know, and things like volatility, contractions and expansions, like we saw this 3-bar triangle here. Again, credit to Linda Rashke for naming it that. When do we crush? How do we expand? What do we do after today? You know, when the government's obviously shut down stuff in the US, so data's a little bit, I don't even know if they're doing an FP actually. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. Someone tell me that for sure on Friday. So that's the kind of thinking of this. Now let's look at DAX very, very quickly, because I know many of you trade DAX. Stuck in a range, man. No one really cares. And this is the kind of thing I often look at is no one really cares. No one's really cared about DAX. So sorry, DAX, for all of summer. It's gone up a bit. It's gone down a bit. Now, if that's your thing, it's probably been a great opportunity and you've enjoyed it. I prefer one-way streets that pause, supply demand shifts, goes back. So it's not a preferred trading vehicle at all for me. FTSE, big wick on the day. Let's see if this holds. By the way, one concept to think about is, again, is Linda Rashke. Thank you very much, Linda. She talks about eating the wick. And so if this wick is bullish, right, we know this wick is bullish and it's caused because of the pound weakness. So we understand the concept of that and why this is happening, and bull market as well. Fine, fine, fine. If now we start to eat the wick as such and come back and take this out, that's a very bearish signal. So that'd be something that's unlikely, and it's not one of these things that happens very often. But if you do get a big reversal that then reverses, the power of the double reversal really catches a lot of people out. So that's something to definitely look out for. But I think maybe we'll be driven by the cable weakness. It's continued weakness here. Unless this can recover and do some sort of miraculous thing, maybe Labour were, this is the British government, sadly, maybe they are going to come backpedal and they're going to say, hey, listen, you know, maybe they're testing the waters today and see what the response is like. So that's possible. I don't kind of buy that too much and don't dig into it too much. So that could obviously, you know, but put it this way, pound is driven exclusively, I think anyway, exclusively now by the jawboning and comments of how the budget is going to, what the budget is going to do. tax is going to be raised, etc., etc. So people's perception on the British economy, and that is all impacting FTSE. So I think just if you're trading those, it's understanding the relationship between those two, and maybe keeping an eye on that news flow without getting too wedded to the emotive side of it, as saying, oh my tax is going to go up, so blah blah. But looking at it from a pure trader's perspective of what's price doing, how is price responding to this news, and how can I use that to my advantage? And remembering this, if traders and higher time frame players want to position, it takes them time. You know, even though these markets are super liquid, super thick, it takes them time. So there's no rush. If you think pound is heading down to the kind of these fresh lows down here, and you're kind of like, that's my, then wait. There will be a time when you get the volatility contraction, and you can kind of sell an expansion like the 3-bar triangle. There'll be times when you get a move to the upside and kind of a rally that then fails. There will be little signals that help you trigger into it, rather than just chasing to fresh lows or doing a kind of Peter type trade who, you know, getting some sort of level, breaks, pulls back to the level and retraces low. Again, the theme is just patience, regardless of kind of what asset class you're trading, how you're trading. We don't need to rush this stuff, guys. We really don't. If you're a day trader, swing trader, it's like, just be more intentional about the trade you're taking. It's like, okay, do I think the gap is going to fill today? Do I think we're going to rally off the open? Do I want to take the opening range breakout? All those things. It's like, okay, well, you know, jot down the idea, jot down what's going to support the idea, what's not, and really kind of, you know, rather than the kind of, oh, just have a stab there, have a stab there. It's like, okay, there's plenty of opportunity to maybe grab 1 or 2 good trades a day or a week, and be very intentional about that, and kind of have an asymmetric risk reward, all that type of stuff. So let's see where we close today. We've got an hour and a bit left, so it will be interesting to see. Lots going on, lots to be kept on top with. Bitcoin, of course, I've got to say Bitcoin, I've noted it down. We're under this low. Where does this go? I don't know. There's been a lot of good news on Bitcoin, of seemingly good, well, stuff that's seemingly supposedly good for bullish for Bitcoin hasn't really produced any upside yet. I have to admit, I'm not really in tune with Bitcoin, so anything I say here, take it with a pinch of salt. It's not something I intentionally follow. And there's one final word on that, and this comes with focus and intentionality. Pick what you're going to focus on. Like there's a couple of instruments that are going to offer opportunity. If you spread yourself too thin, you just lose the feel for stuff. You know, I was having a discussion with a trader the other day. Like, I haven't traded Forex for a while because I feel there's enough opportunity. There's definitely been opportunity in gold. There's been opportunity in NASDAQ, and I don't want to spread myself too thin. Now I'm going to shift away from gold because I believe that cable, especially pound, maybe I'll put yen in there as well, because yen's obviously very much in play. That could create opportunity, but this is the way I operate. Everyone's different. I think I have to drop one thing and then bring that into my inner circle, so to speak. I can't watch loads of stuff because I lose a feel for what's impacting it, what's not. Now, if it's a correlation play, like you're trading pound against FTSE, that's slightly different. But I just would recommend, and I've got careful saying the word recommend, but I think if you spread yourself too thin, the old Chinese proverb of man who chases 2 rabbits catches none type of thing. Not saying necessarily one instrument, but maybe just understanding, you know, some of the better plays and aligning them with how you like to trade, the supply demand shift, whatever works for you. Okay, so lots gone on. Let's see where we close today. Let me share with you now, if I may, this, and bring you there. Let me put you here. Let me put you here. Let me go full screen. We're looking good so far. Okay. Share something else. Yes, please. Chrome tab, AI Edge. Don't want to share audio apart from that audio. Seamless, ladies and gents. Seamless. 10 seconds. Not bad. Right. Let's talk about AI. And really how it supports all our trading. And like I say, I'm never here to tell you how to trade. You know, I'm a big advocate of, if something's working, then you do more of it, and you do more of it until it doesn't work. That's the name of a trade. And sometimes it's a simple edge, sometimes it's a simple opening range breakout play, sometimes it's a simple time of day algo, afternoon breakout, afternoon fly, you know, whatever it might be. You just do more of that. But then sometimes if you're struggling and you're kind of spinning your wheels a bit, you kind of have to explore different ways of approaching things. And I feel like, you know, AI, everyone's AI, fine, whatever, you know, let them get on with that. And the day we have humanoid robots going around, you know, loading the dishwasher, washing the car, mowing the lawn, that day comes, whatever. But where we are now is, I think there's opportunity for us to use AI in our trading to support where you are now, not to replace us, not to do anything different, but to kind of act as almost a trading assistant. So Ed Secotis says this. He says the computer is simply an extension of the human trader. It can process data faster, but it reflects the trader's beliefs. And don't forget, all these AI tools have been trained on us, the internet, right? So there isn't necessarily artificial intelligence per se. So it's just kind of collating all the stuff that we already know as was on the internet. So it's still going to reflect our emotions, and we get stuff wrong. So we have to remember this is not a panacea. This is not a perfect tool. It's something that is going to support us in trading. Okay, so let me set the scene for you. AI is a super assistant. If I said to you here, have a market analyst, have a trading coach, have a risk manager, have an idea generator, these top people, and you've only got to pay 20 bucks a month, whatever ChatGPT Plus is, Pro is, you'd be like, yeah, of course I will. Fine, if I do that. And that's the way to think of it. Is to think of it as a super assistant to your trading. And you might be like, oh, Mark, you know, do I need an assistant? I analyze charts myself. I place the orders myself. I'm fine. I understand it. But if you can use someone who's super smart, I'll show you what I kind of mean in a moment, to bounce ideas off, to talk through and workshop through questions, strategies, challenges. The way that I like to use AI or ChatGPT kind of exclusive, and you can use any of these LLMs, right, is to help me think through things, problems, challenges, and use it as a sounding board. I don't necessarily get the answers that I want from AI, but it helps me think of different things and spur ideas and a kind of a spark of an idea. You're just like you coming on this webinar now and joining me in this evening. You could be doing hundreds of other things, but you choose to join me and appreciate that. Hopefully add some value for your trading. But the idea is that you kind of get a spark of something, then you go away and think about it and you develop it and you build it into your execution or not, as the case may be. And I think AI is very good at that. It's very good at kind of allowing you to talk through things. So I want to cover various different ways that we can use AI. A lot of them you may have seen before, some of them you maybe haven't, but the idea being this: we're doing a multiple series of these webinars, and obviously in conjunction with Pepperstone, and thanks to Pepperstone for letting me host these. Go and have a look at them, go and check them out, go and see if you're not a client of theirs yet, go and have a look. But in December, I want to give you a 30-day AI challenge. Why do I want to do this? It's because I've seen the power of AI. I'm going to show you kind of today to kind of just help me make a lot more on a trade a while back, but I'll show you that example. But I'm starting to, I've forced myself to use it almost daily with my journaling, with my thinking through ideas, with all, and I'll show you all this in a moment in slides. But why I kind of want to do this now is to give you the seed, because in December, if you stick around, you come to these webinars, we've got much more stuff. We've got kind of evening trader playbook, all sorts of bits coming up, and you can see the schedule for that. But in December, I want to give you a 30-day AI challenge. And the idea of that is giving you tasks to do each day so that it creates a habit. Because ultimately, listen, right, we absolutely have to be ahead of this curve, like it or not. And I don't want to grab you kicking and screaming and like, oh, I don't want to use AI. And I don't think you'd be here if you were. Maybe you're kind of been using it and kind of experimenting, and maybe you've done stuff that I haven't even looked at yet. But this is the future. Like it or not, this is the future. And if we don't get on top of this, we are going to be left behind by people who are using it. Yes, the edge is slim at the moment. Yes, it's given us a little bit more of an edge, reduces a bit of cognitive load, helps us be more focused, does this, that, and the other, and stuff we'll cover in a moment. But ultimately, it's going to get better and better and better and better. And we don't want to be in a situation where we're still the dinosaur sitting there not using it when actually other traders are doing that. I'm not going to say it's going to make you an instantly profitable trader, because it won't. But there's so many things it can do, and it will be able to do, it's just going to be game changing. And so I think part of this stuff, and why I talk about this loads, is that we must absolutely, it's our duty. If you're trying to make trading something that's going to serve you for life, something that's going to serve you, then this is the landscape we're in, and this is something we absolutely have to embrace. I remember many years ago, I don't remember the exact year it was. We went from the UK London Stock Exchange, we went from what was called CQ to sets. And CQ was basically market maker driven quotes, right? So you get a quote for Tesco, you could see the market makers on a level 2 book, and they'd be there, and everything would go through a market maker. And that was how people would trade. Then we pivoted to what was called sets. I can't remember what sets stood for. Basically, like an automated order book where you could put your own orders in, 10,000 shares, 100 shares, like you see now, right? And people thought it was the end of the world. Traders were making money, but then I remember speaking to them. It was kind of early on, so it didn't really impact me as such. But they were like, "Oh, we can't trade anymore. No, I want to go back to market, make a model. I've got a good relationship with my broker. I'd throw my orders in, blah blah blah." And they were absolutely screaming. But the traders who went, you know what, this is going to be, it's going to take time to get used to. I'm going to have to get used to this, but this is the future. This is the way we're going. Embracing that shift helped them get ahead of everyone else, and they were well ahead of it. And some of the things that you could spot early on, you know, when sets came in, was like the very early algorithms that were so primitive you could spot them and you could literally profit from them. Separate story, no, to go down that rabbit hole now, but I think this is really the same scenario now where there is edge here. It's not clear what the edge absolutely is. There's stuff that we're going to help to support our trading now, but there's going to be a window of opportunity where the edge is huge. And if you're ahead and you're running kind of at speed, you understand these things, then there might be a short window where there's massive opportunity. And I think part of this is helping you trading now, but part of it is also getting up to speed and understanding and getting used to using it, so that when the edge does start to really get a tipping point, you've got that window before everyone else catches up where there's maybe obscene opportunity. Who knows? I don't know for sure. I just got this feeling, but that might be the case. Okay, so enough of that. Let's talk about this. I think most traders, I don't know where to start. They've used it a little bit, got some really crappy answers from it, or maybe doesn't think it has any value for traders. Or maybe you use it regularly, like, you know what, let me see if there's anything new in this webinar, Mark. Has it got anything new for us? So I said this before, I like to think of it as a stupid professor, right? And no offense to professors, if you're on this webinar, very, appreciate you academics, we need academics, but some people are very academic, but have no common sense. And this is absolutely not casting all academics. Let me just say that. But this is how I like to think of it. Someone who's super smart, and you maybe have got a mate like that. He's super smart. He's well bright, but he's just dozy as hell. You're like, what the hell? That's common sense, isn't it? But you ask him something about the second differential of this, that, and the other, and they're like, brr, you're like, oh, you get my point. I look at AI like that. He's a mate who's really, really smart, but he's lacks a bit of common sense. So brilliant, fast, but pretty forgetful, sometimes stupid. Here's a thing to try with ChatGPT. I don't know if it still does it. Ask it to play rock, paper, scissors. Say, play rock, paper, scissors. It'll go, yeah, sure. It goes, I go first, rock. And you go, oh, God, that's not really how rock, paper, scissors works. And you'd think it would understand it, but it doesn't. So, yeah, there's a little caveat there. It's a little bit stupid at times, but it can be very, very important. So treat it like a human assistant, right? If you give it clear context, double check its work, and keep asking it questions, keep probing, and something we'll kind of look at is today. So kind of keep probing stuff. Okay, why AI is a superpower, accelerates learning curve. I think it frees mental space. That's a big one for me. Got a lot going on. The market's busy. There's lots of cognitive load here. Anything I can do to shift that out of my brain or help me think through ideas and get the old cogs working in that brain helps loads, especially as well. I wrote an email yesterday, especially if you're European time zone trading US markets. By the time it's coming 7 o'clock, you're fatigued, like it or not. You've already your brain's kind of struggling for processing power, and so it's going to help that build structure, consistency, instant feedback loops, etc., etc. Okay, 6 use cases today, and I'll run through them reasonably quickly. I'll send you the recording, or Pepperstone will, when it's up and it's ready. Journaling and trade review, strategy building, execution and scenario training, trading psychology, of course we love that one, pre-market prep, and deep research. Use case number 1, journaling and trade review, and I'm glancing at time, so I'm going to be a little bit quicker on some of this stuff, but I'll give you some more resources at the end. You can deep dive onto some of these things a little bit more, kind of a site hub that I'm building out on my website that might help you. All free resources, right? So use case number 1, journaling and trade review. Consider kind of using it as a trading journal, right? I know there's some great trading journals out there that do a lot of this stuff, but I like to use kind of voice. I like to upload things. I like to just say, hey, you know what? Can you spot any patterns here? What am I doing? Is there something here in my winning trades I need to do more of? Is there something in these losing trades that I'm missing? Is there a blind spot I can't see? And this takes time to kind of build it. But if you kind of speak into it every day, if you just say, hey, this is you could obviously you can upload screenshots, you can upload CSVs, is fine. You can do that as well. That's absolutely fine. But if you just kind of use it casually, you can kind of use it and just say, hey, this is what I'm thinking about today. Market rallied. I felt like I should buy. I didn't, and wait for the pullback. So from a psychological perspective, that's something that some of these online journals don't do, is being able to kind of remember what you've said and say, hey, that's that's the fourth time you've mentioned that you didn't jump on or you hesitated on your trade. Try this. And so whilst it's fine, you can upload a CSV and you can do all the kind of logical stuff and calculations. What this does is, if you're talking to it like you would be a fellow trader, a trading mentor, a trading coach, over time it starts to learn how you talk about the markets, especially if you're running through the day. Kind of saying, yes, what happened, this is that, this is how I felt, this is how I executed, this is what I felt after this felt good. It starts to remember that, and then over time it can say, hey, listen, you're hesitating too much on this trade. You won't never buy at highs because you this, and actually you've said that very often. You get the idea. Very, very useful for that. That just takes time with using it. Finds themes, tone, and risk mistakes, I think, faster than you can. And of course you can use it traditional way, uploading a CSV from your blotter, all that stuff, and saying, hey, look at these trades, find me a pattern. And just like Trading Plan Pro, which is the Google Sheets that I kind of use to kind of find some discipline patterns in my trading and stuff. This does this, but gives you kind of feedback for ways you might not have realized you're doing. So it's very, very useful for that. And okay, use case number 2, strategy and playbook design. So this is when you kind of, and the way that I like to use this, and the way that I kind of have used this with our traders as well, is to speak to it in plain language and say, listen, like I said here, I like fading exhaustion moves. Help me define filters, triggers, and exits. And you might add some more context, like the main nemesis of fading an exhaustion move is that I'm too early, and I want to brainstorm ideas, filters that help me keep out of the market from getting in too soon. And then you can upload screenshots of examples and all the stuff like this. And I'm not saying it comes up with a kind of a holy grail of a trade idea and trade setup rules, but what it does is it helps you think differently. And it helps you say stuff like, do you know what? You need to maybe pay a little more attention to the time of day, or do you know what? The length of that candle is quite important. And actually, either one of the screenshots you've uploaded, how many times did you get one failed bounce first before it went a second leg? These type of things. And so, especially if you ask it the right questions and you say, give me more information. How else could I time this? Where can I put my stop? Give me another idea. Give me 10 ideas. Force it to give you kind of 20 ideas. The 15th is all over the shop, but all you need is one spark. You go, I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, you know what? And you get down, you start jotting things down, and you kind of go back and you say, yeah, you know what? We'll try that. Maybe I do need to split the stop up and do half entry here, just something you hadn't thought of, which is what a good coach or mentor will do for you anyway. And you're using ChatGPT like this to help design and refine your playbook. And you can go further and say, well, what part of this do I need to leave to discretion, and what part of this should be strict rule based? So if then statements saying, keeping my rules, like I'm trying to try example of exhaustion, I need to see an excursion move, I need to see a final this. Okay, what part of that ChatGPT should be used for discretion? What part of it should be rule based, where do I need to be careful? So it's a really, really good brainstorming partner for this, and also very, very cool. It can name stuff for you. So if you're like me, I kind of remember stuff when it's named something clearly, like 6 o'clock shock is a strategy I've got. Linda Rashke, again, it comes to my mind because we've talked about it twice today. She has what's it called, a short skirt trade, holy grail trade, and Rob, a trader who might be on the call, Rob, he calls things like 7 o'clock alarm call, 11 o'clock alarm, 7 a.m. alarm clock for his DAX kind of breakout trade. This may sound silly, this sounds silly, but it helps you go, that's this. And you automatically think of the word, and then you think, your mind just goes to all the screenshots and all the trades that you've taken before and how that looks. If you're like, I'm just buying this pullback, you forget the nuances of the time, the distance of the pullback, all the stuff. So silly, but it helps you kind of do naming and stuff, and helps you kind of come up with maybe even checklists and things and bits and pieces. Okay, I like this one. This is really good. And actually, I'll give you an example from today. So I told you about this kind of cable stuff today. Closed it a little bit early. So this is when you can kind of say to ChatGPT, hey, do you know what? Oh, okay, we want to enter a trade. If price does this, what are 3 ways to enter the trade? How do I scale into this trade? I want to express this idea. What are different ways of doing this? It might say wait for the close, wait for the open. But again, it helps you brainstorm things through. Today, I screenshotted this and said this is the daily chart of pound US dollar. I was short from this morning. I closed it too early. It was down about 0.7. It went about 0.9. I'd like to reinitiate the short at some point because I believe shift in momentum could be here. So give me 5 ways I could potentially re-enter the short on this. And it kind of came up with some different ideas, right? And some of I'm not going to put them all on here and kind of go through things, but you get the idea, right? You can just ask it. And again, if our North Star here is to spark an idea that we might not have thought of, that's what we're trying to do with it. We're our own traders. You're making your own risk-based decisions, not AI. But what this does is it's like talking to someone who's super experienced and says, hey, have you thought about the pullback? So, you'd be stupid if you haven't, but the pullback to a break level, the flag, and it came up with kind of different ideas and ways, and you can keep asking it stuff. And the idea here is you're not going to mirror it exactly, but if you're looking at the chart, you go, you know what? Yeah, maybe I do need to wait for a volatility crush, or maybe I do need to wait for this, and you can start to jot down your trading plan, and that could be intraday as well. So again, it's brainstorming through different things, and being more specific about what you're trying to achieve, and keep asking it. Okay, trading psychology use case number 4. This is very, very good, very, very good. You can ask it to act as a certain character. So Brett Steenbarger, Steve Ward, Louise Nonwheeler, any of these, Randy Howell, any of these trading psychologists that you respect and you want to get their take on stuff. And this may not be new to you, but the way to do this is to ask it to act as, and I know this is very broad, help me stop revenge trading. What would Brett Steenbarger say about this? How would Steve Ward recommend I do this? And what you can do for even further context is find videos with these guys in. So if there's a good interview with Brett Steenbarger or Steve Ward, or even my podcast, I kind of interviewed Steve Ward on my podcast a while ago, twice, I think. Randy Howe, any of these things, take the transcript, super easy to get on YouTube, even on Spotify, you can get it, right? Paste that into ChatGPT and say, this is a transcript of da da da. Right now, based on what he said in this, Brett Steenbarger, for example, help me solve this discipline issue I have of diving at the open. Help me solve not sticking to my stop loss. Help me solve this. And it's got context it builds upon. Now, it already knows who Brett Steenbarger, Steve Ward is. It already knows that because it's gone out, it's done all this. This is how it's a language learning model. It's done all the learning already, but you've added additional context with something you found valuable. So a great video, a great book. If you've bought the book and you've got it in PDF as well, so you're not infringing any copyright and that type of stuff, chuck that in. And you say, hey, act as this. What would that say? That's very, very good. Because if you read a book, like maybe one of these ones here, is that what's his name's book? I think it's Steve Ward's book. Or even Tom Hugard's book, right? It's not a psychologist as such. But if you've got that, then you can get the PDF as well. You put that in, you say, right, using this as context, help me solve this, and keep working with it. Keep asking questions. Now you've basically talking direct to Brett. And actually I've got a podcast with him as well, so you could probably use that. Sorry, Brett, I forgot I had a conversation with you. It was a great conversation. So you can check that one out. But you get the idea, using that as a context and a framework to kind of build on. And if you ask it the questions that you're struggling with, you'll get the answers based on that kind of foundation, if you like. And voice mode works very well here. So you kind of put the information in, act as Brett Steenbarger, then go into voice mode and talk normally. I'm really struggling with kind of holding these trades to target. I always take them out before they hit target, because one little kind of pull back against me, I see the unrealized P&L disappear, and I want to kind of get better at that. What would Brett say about that? And give me sort of 5 ideas and drills that I could potentially do to help me improve that. Oh, I like number 3. Talk to me through how number 3 could work. You get the idea. Really, really, really powerful. Really powerful. Okay. A pre-market prep. This is kind of quite smart. Very, very simple. You can, again, if it starts to know about you and what you're trying to achieve, you can say, hey, give me 6 items I need to check off before I even consider taking a trade. It might say, okay, check your economic calendar, do this, do that. And actually, if you're super smart with it, you can say, I want you to ask me the question, wait for my reply, challenge my reply before asking me the next question. It's like a man standing there saying, hey, Mark, have you checked the economic calendar? And you go, yes, I have. We've got JOLTS today, or we've got ISM today. And it says, or how relevant is ISM? And you go, actually, they're not relevant because this, and this. Fine, next question. Have you checked the overnight range? Yes, I have. It's 265 points. What does that mean? That's really, really good. If you're struggling to stick to a checklist, if you're struggling to stick to a process, ask it. Say, hey, ChatGPT, give me ideas for checklists. Now, I want you to ask me the question, wait for my reply, challenge my reply before asking me the next thing. Very, very, very useful if you're struggling to stick to a process. You feel like you're rushed when you come into the trading day. Handy as hell. Another one is market summary. Now, if you use deep research mode, you can ask it and say to it, hey, give me a brief of what happened overnight and what's affecting the market today. Now, you kind of pure price traders might be like, oh, do I really need this? I would argue the other side of it. I'm a price trader through and through. Those of you know me know that. However, at the moment, we are very, very much driven by headlines. Like it or not, there's an engine of the market. It's AI, it's interest rates, it's earnings right the second it's earnings anyway. It's that stuff is fueling the market movements. It's Trump tweeting, of course, trade war calmed down a little bit now after the Trump G thing, but just understanding what's actually happened. And if you ask it and say, hey, summarize overnight moves, give me the catalyst, blah, 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 you come up with something that's suitable for you. It will come up with a huge, especially if you click deep research mode on ChatGPT, other things probably got their own ways of doing this. It will then go through and say, hey, and maybe you're not a stock trader, right? You don't look at the stocks, you're not in tune with stocks. You might want to know that Palantir dropped 7% because you know Palantir is an AI golden child, right? Palantir, Nvidia, we know these are kind of the AI drivers, and so that being down 7% maybe adds some doubt to the market. That might be so. You might say, well, the risk-off sentiment today is a bit of concern about AI as opposed to other things. There was some comments made from the kind of bank CEOs about the stability, the sustainability of the bull market. You might not trade from that, but I think any good trader wants to build a picture of what's fueling the market. And something I really stress this, and I know a lot of people push back on this, but honestly, understanding how larger traders and institutions are making decisions is so important. I think it's one of the missing pieces that a lot of price action traders do. Fine, if you're hyper scalper, you don't give a damn about what the Palantir is doing. You're scalping on a kind of micro chart, and that's that. But at any higher time frame than that, 5 minute, 15 minutes, 60, you want to know, like, okay, what is the higher time frame money thinking? How do they perceive this? Why are they positioned the way they are? We're playing chess here, right? And the pre-market summary or anything like this helps us because we're not going into clicking into crap on news sites and going down rabbit holes. We're saying, just give me the facts. Why is this done? And it goes away. It looks at Reuters. It looks at this. It looks at this, and you can even summarize it even more, right? So it's a way that you can get the information you need, whether you're going to make a commercial decision from that or not. And even actually today, I'm sure it said something like, hey, we went to all-time highs in one of the Asian markets and then fell off. It's like, okay, that's interesting. Maybe I need to look at that. Maybe that's going to affect how we trade today. Maybe today we won't just peel off straight away. We'll try and rally, then we'll roll back. You get the idea. I think it's super, super useful, this, and it keeps you away from news sites, which is the absolute nemesis, right? The goddamn nemesis of traders, because you start going down rabbit holes, you start clicking this and that. You just want facts. Don't care about opinion. I want facts because I want to be able to map that to price, just like we did on Thursday. Trump and Xi have agreed 1 year deal on the rare metals. Yeah, hurrah, 12 out of 10 for markets down. That's all I care about. And as a trader, I can then respond to that, whether I'm intraday trading or not. Okay, let me give this example here of a deep research mode. I think it's a super rare, and maybe you don't trade stocks. Fine, understandable. I don't think it's going to work if you're trading cable or if you're trading NASDAQ, but you can see the potential. So I was short this company, which is called Fiverr. Maybe you guys know Fiverr. I'm not going to go into the whole thesis. I had this short, and I wanted to. My thesis was, do I hold this over earnings? And I was already short from a while before, so I had some sort of cushion. I had a decent cushion, and I was trying to work out, hey, are they going to miss earnings? And I realized Fiverr's a marketplace. You've got buyers and sellers. People go there and they say, hey, I want a thumbnail design for my YouTube video, or can you design me a website? Can you clean up the audio on this podcast? Little tiny things, and they used to cost a $5. Now cost $50, $100, $1,000, something like that, right? So it's a marketplace, and AI is a disruptor of that, blah, blah, blah. So again, not going to go through the full thesis, but I said to ChatGPT, I thought to myself, hang on a second, ChatGPT might know this. So I said, go ChatGPT, deep research mode, go and look at all the places these freelancers might be who sell on Fiverr, and it's a marketplace, right? So they're selling stuff, and give me in this time window when the earnings were, because the earnings were coming up on this day. So they're reporting from the prior 3 months, when that, I think it was to the end of June. It was the end of July, the actual earnings. So it was the end of June, so 3 months. Go and find out posts and give me a rough idea of the sentiment around Fiverr, the Fiverr company, during those 3 months. And it went out and it said, right, there's loads of complaints about people saying that they've been getting no clicks. April was my worst month ever. No new clients. I'm considering. Fine. This is anecdotal, right? But it's gone onto Reddit. It's gone onto these forums. It's done all the stuff that I potentially would kind of task an assistant to do, or I would have to do myself. It's summarized it, and it's basically said, hey, do you know what? A lot of people are struggling. The freelancers are struggling, and I've taken a risk-based decision. I'm going, you know what? I'm going to hold my short over earnings. I think that's enough evidence, along with my thesis, that this is now going to gap down on earnings. I understand there's a risk involved in that. I understand it's not for everybody. I accepted the risk. But the point is, with the context we've got now with AI, is that gave me the extra information edge to say, you know what, I think that's going to impact the earnings, and I think that it's worth holding because of that anecdotal evidence. It's not perfect. I know it's not, but it's something that absolutely could be done in that scenario. And there's ways you can do this. And this would have cost you so much money to go and do this, but you have to hire a consultant, this or the other. But now you can do it kind of a click of a button, and stock gap down 10%. And it was like, thanks very much. I said, thank you very much, ChatGPT. You've helped me make the decision to hold that. Now, if it had been against me, I'd have accepted the risk on that. But I'm just showing you there is information edge, I think, with this as well. Forget that idea. Right. Blind spot finder. So this is a good one. After you've been journaling for a while, it starts to build up a pattern, right? It starts to build up, a history of how you speak to it. And especially if you're using the same chat each time, it starts to say, okay, I recognize what this person's doing. Now, at intervals, you can ask this question. Based on everything I've told you so far about my trading, about each day, what blind spots or biases do I have? What blind spots am I missing? What biases do I have that I might not be cognizant that I've got? Now, it goes back, and you might not remember this, but it goes and it remembers this, and it goes, you know what? You have recency bias. This is why, because you've talked about this, this, and this, and I've noticed a pattern of this, and you go, no, I haven't. And you go, well, actually, maybe I have. Okay, then how do I solve that? This is so good. And listen, you might have times where it goes, this, and this, and you go, not interested, discard it. It's cost you nothing, no time, whatever. But again, going back to the initial point, if it just sparks something, you go, maybe I have got recency bias. Maybe my blind spot is I'm not sizing up enough. It just helps you start to think through things. So blind spot finder is a very good, cool thing. Some rules for getting good output. I believe these are good rules. Give context. You've got to, hopefully over time, it builds up a kind of memory of what you're doing, who you are. And there's obviously some people don't like that, but from this perspective of operational, getting the best output, understanding who you are, what you're trying to do, the more information you can give it, the better context you're going to get back. You trade Nasdaq intraday, you do this, you do that. I trade from this time, blah, blah. You give it context so it can give you a reply based on a kind of the context that you give it. The specificity matters. Asking for, hey, I want this specific reply. That's a little bit of it can be a burden, I think, but that's the way it is at the moment. You have to be specific, or it goes off on a tangent. It gives you all sorts of crap, right? You've got to say, I want 3 filters for this, this, and this. Voice mode helps you from typing it all out. So if you don't want to be sitting there click-clacking away, you can talk in voice. I want to be very, very specific. Iterate. keep asking questions. That's not right. Give me this, give me this, give me this. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. You'll eventually get a good answer, or you'll give up and go, you know what, I've asked it enough times. It's not really helping me at all. Move on. And that's fine. It's not a superpower. And also, stick to the thread you're in. So if you build this long-term chat and keep going and keep going and keep going, eventually you get to the end of it, you have to start again. And you can kind of then say, summarize all this and drag it over. But that takes a while. And just keeping the same thread, because then it learns. Right. So how do you make all this stick? And again, we kind of scratched the surface here. And hopefully the idea is we planted a few seeds. You can go off in different directions based on, psychology. I really need to fix that because that's the one thing holding me back from getting traction. And it's this damn thing. I can't quite. Okay, I'm going to ask it to help me work through that. Give me challenges to help work through that. And I say we're going to have this 30-day challenge to try and help you make this become a habit and really level up that side of your trading. You've got the execution side, great. We've got this homework side of like extracurricular work, the journaling, the psychology, the books, the stuff that we need both sides to be working in parallel to support the trading. Like the execution, the performance, fine. That's your raw equity curve. But you need this other bit as well. And I think this really supports you with that. And hopefully it will help you kind of build this permanent AI workflow. So some final thoughts. AI is not going to trade for you yet. There might be a time when it does. This is a whole new can of worms. I don't think that changes things for us traders because AI will be trying to outfox AI, just like algos do now. There are predatory algos that go in there to try to sniff out algos that are already operating in the order book. When they see those algos, they respond. It will just be magnified at that. So I don't believe the doom and gloom of AI is going to completely solve trading because they will be pitching against each other. And how does that affect us? I don't know, but that's my thinking of stuff. And that's why I think it's very important that we get up to speed because I don't know how quickly things are going to change. So it's really important to stay on top of things, the technology, using it in your workflow, because there might be an opportunity. You just don't know. You'll be kicking yourself if you're not up to speed. There might be an opportunity where a simple tool can find excessive edge for a couple of weeks before everyone catches on. You just don't know, right? Some people might be calling BS on this, and I don't know for sure, but it can't harm because it's helpful now and it could be very, very helpful in the future. Help you think, plan, execute, hopefully use it wisely, and I think it could be the best trading partner you ever have. If you want to go deeper on this, I've started to collect a lot of the information that I've been researching and putting into play in my own trading on my website. If you go to the learn section there, all free, this is for you to use or not as you wish. Click the AI for traders, and there I'm kind of building this hub out where it links out into other prompts. It links out into, like I've shared some prompts here, for different things you can do. It links out into some podcasts I've done, some ideas, some tools, etc. So if this does interest you, obviously we've got the webinar coming up in December for the 30-day challenge. But if you want to explore that some more, please do feel free and let me know if there's any feedback on that, because I'm trying to build it as a non-hype tool to help us improve our trading, you and me, right? I'm on this journey with you. And so if you want to send me any suggestions of what I've missed in that, I want this to be a real kind of useful hub and tool for us to get rid of the noise, get rid of the hype and all this stuff about AI is going to trade for you and make you. No. How is it actually going to help us traders who are serious about this improve our trading? So yeah, go and check that out if you'd like to, or not, as the case may be. Okay. I'll take your questions now. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. I'm not sure how qualified I am. I don't claim to be an expert. And I think, I don't claim to be an AI expert. I'm always a bit sus, unless it's Sam Altman, which is an AI expert. We're all learning on this journey together. So if you have any ways that you use AI and you want to share with me, share them now. I'm really super interested. Or reply to my daily email. I love hearing replies and comments and ideas, and that's the best way of doing it. Reply to the email. I get that, and Armand, who deals with the inbox and stuff, will send that to me, and I do my very best to reply to everybody on that. So thank you, anyone who does. So anything to do with AI or ideas, I'm learning as much as you. Hopefully there's some stuff there that's valuable and you can use in your own trading for sure, because I do spend a lot of time on this, what's working, what's not, try to cut out some of the noise and share that with you. But obviously each trade is personal. Each trader's journey is personal too. So maybe there's something you found that I haven't found, and if I like it and I use it, I'll share it and I'll shout you out as well. Okay, thank you. Am I thanking myself? I'm thanking you for potentially sending me stuff about AI. Let's have a quick look at the market while I've been talking. Answer these questions if I can. Lows, not really a surprise, right? Not really a surprise. 1 hour to go. Bounce and dip. Who knows? Right, let's have a look. Okay, let's get to these questions. Thanks for your questions, guys. By the way, I do like these. I miss you guys when it's not a Wednesday, when it's not a Tuesday. I do enjoy doing these webinars, especially when you give me some cool questions. Okay, Edward says, what I've always wanted to ask you, Mark, is your thoughts on trading edge. An edge derived from age-old technical principles is a constant edge, but an edge derived from market conditions need to be updated. I've had to cut corners on this for the sake of brevity. Okay, so that's a really good question, Edward. I think you've got multiple edges, right? You've got information edge, which we often don't have, although saying that, a slither of it there with that kind of research on the Fivers trade. We've got, an edge of the technicals, you're right, that's understanding price. Do you know, I think the biggest edge comes in, and the more especially recently with, new president and what have you, and the kind of more I trade and the longer I get in this journey, the more I realize that, understanding how price is responding to the market's engine. So what is the engine of the market? Is it AI? Is it this? Is that? It's been oil before. It's been yen before. It's been gold. It's been the war on terror before. It's been China. I think the edge comes from recognizing how price is responding to that. How does that fold in with your technical edge? And then having a discipline edge. It sounds crazy, but being able to be patient enough not to get involved in every little thing. You might be like, well, is that really edge? Well, it is, because most people are just punting away on every little candle that's going, and there's no edge on that. There is no edge. I'm open-minded, loads of stuff, but I do believe that there is no edge. Edge does not exist all the time. There is opportunities where there's a window of time when there's edge, and that may be technical setup. That may be mapping it to some sort of news. That may be this, that, and the other, right? And that is the key for a retail trader, is to understand price action principles, supply demand, how markets move, why they move, play the game of chess and being patient, because this is stacking layers of edge. We haven't got a huge edge like an HFT. We haven't got an information edge like maybe a hedge fund going out running a drone over to see how many trucks go out of a facility, right? We don't have that. We don't have capital edge. We are very, very undercapitalized compared to some of these big players out there, right? We don't have that. But our edge is that we stack layers of edge together. We stack the technicals, like what patterns have repeated themselves. We stack a deep understanding of intraday market flows, time of day rhythms, how markets responding to news, what the higher time frame trend is. That's edge. This is edge. And stacking that all up, I always think of it in my mind of I'm stacking layers of edge. And the more you can stack, the more probabilities then tip in your favor. Okay, how do you integrate in your trading? I'm not sure, Ali. How do you integrate in your trade? Not sure that is Ali. Sorry. Send it again, mate, and add some more context. It might be a female, actually, Ali. I've been using Copilot as well to find earnings report consensuses. Which would you say better, Copilot or ChatGPT? I've not used Copilot, Martin. I've only used ChatGPT. I think it's fine. There's probably pros and cons to all of them, right? I think they probably give you the same thing in theory. One thing I've found with ChatGPT, it's very agreeable sometimes. Like, don't agree with me, don't stop agreeing, right? Give me some pushback, and you have to then program it to say that. But I think they're all pretty similar, right? Gemini, Copilot, Microsoft Copilot, right? Google Gemini. Who else is there out there? Not sure, but I don't think I'm agnostic to which one to use. Paolo says, this is a really good session, Mark. Appreciate that. Unfortunately, I missed the beginning. We'll be given a link to recording. Yes, Pepperstone should send you a link to the recording. It's slightly delayed as they go through the processing and make sure that I haven't said anything that compliance would not be too happy with. But I'm a realistic trader, so most of the time we're good on that. But that should be sent to you at some point. Alison says, great stuff as always, Mark. Thank you, Alison. Appreciate your support as always. Really do. Jay says, here we go. Good question. Do you give ChatGPT background context about who you are in order to get back smarter answers? Are there any particular details you tell it, e.g. I'm a professional price action trader like so-and-so and Warren Buffett calls me for advice? That really help get professional, useful results. Yeah, Jay, if you're starting to use it, then that is absolutely, you're absolutely spot on, mate. You do exactly that. You give it context of as much context as you can. I do this. This is what I like to trade. This is kind of how I like to position. This is kind of my history. Yeah, obviously, the more you use it, the more it already knows that, and so it gathers context from that. But if you're just starting to do that, absolutely, because if you just ask it broad questions like give me a trading strategy, it's got no other context, it will go off and it'll give you something like a moving average crossover. Whereas if you're like, hey, exactly like you say, I'm a price action trader, I specialize in the open, let's say, I trade exclusively NASDAQ at the open, and I'm looking for moves of 15 to 15 minutes to an hour, and I like to trade mean reversion, you start to then get something that's a little bit more context. It's a really good question. Yeah, the context is key for these things, and until it learns from you, you have to feed it that. John Clayton says, who do you think is applying AI to trading in the most practical way? Oh, what a question. Do you know what? Obviously there's firms out there that are doing lots of secret work on this, which we're not privy to. You know, if you look at XTX and all these like major quant firms, they must be deploying so much in it that who knows what they're doing with that. And that's obviously out of our remit, and it's not something that's practical for us to get involved in. Here's the thing, John, and I do believe this. I do believe this. Everybody is learning as they go along with this. They really are, and that's why I believe we've got such a window of opportunity. We've got edge. Everyone's learning this, and you know how slow some companies are to get on board with this. You know, we know how slow they were to get on board with when algorithms came out. And I don't know for sure, but I do believe that we're all learning. You know, when Sam Altman releases a new thing with ChatGPT, when Grok comes out with Elon Musk and stuff, you and I are the same, getting that release the same as everyone else. And sure, some people are ahead of the game and they're kind of running quantitative funds, but I think that we can be at the cutting edge of this. And it sounds, like self-important, but I genuinely believe that. I believe that if we kind of know who we are as a trader and we can see how this tool can help us, every time it's updated, how does that help me? The new browser from ChatGPT is nonsense, not interesting. This is, so to answer your question, I think that I've kind of gone off topic slightly. I think that we can be at the cutting edge of this. I don't know anybody out there who's per se doing something that I think, it's really, really cool. I think we can do it, because the beautiful thing about AI is we blend it into what we're trying to achieve, which is make profitable trades, asymmetrical risk reward trades, the least amount of risk possible, and make the most amount possible. And I think if we have that in our mind, by the way, John, if we think, hey, I get this information the same as everyone else, then you can learn it and you can be at the forefront of this sort of stuff. Okay, another question. John's had, is this John, same John, or is this a different John? Different John, sorry. Getting confused. I thought it was an addition to the questions. A different John. Hello, John. John says, I was thinking, as you are indicating, the better the questions, the better the answer. Yep. Would it not be possible to create a small portfolio of 3 instruments markets and develop an AI expert on these markets, say over the last 50 years, to try and predict or at least improve your edge for the next move, as the markets are so jumpy right now? I hope it makes sense. Yes, it does, John. And here I've explored this a lot. And I think I've done, you can look at a webinar where I've talked about generating actual trading strategies from AI, where you import CSV of all the price action data, high, low, close of however many years you've got, and you interrogate it, and it does come up with good strategies. There's no doubt, absolutely it does. But you still have to point it. At the moment you do anyway. I think it won't be long until it links up with your broker, it links up with price, and it says, hey, this is your type of trade, ding, ding, you should consider taking this. You've taken this 50 times over the last year and 35 of them were profitable. This is the right time of day for you. This is the right pattern. Hello, or hey, watch out, this sucks you. I think that's coming. That's the obvious next step, right? And maybe it's there and it's not been released yet. This kind of linking of AI, price action, your actual equity, your actual blotter, and kind of seeing how you behave with price, because edge is always how you but respond to price, what trades you take or don't take, or screw up or make or do well on, and being able to have that information right there and mapping it to current conditions. Whoa, that's going to be a breakthrough and a half, right? But your question, yeah, if you feed it data, you can get information, and it can go back and it can kind of give you some hints and ideas. But it's a thing, like it shifts. I think the narrative shifts, and what was valid years ago is not valid now. The participants are different. I prefer putting maybe 20 days of data and going, hey, look at this, tell me the strongest hour, the weakest hour, how many times it, and sometimes there's a huge edge there. You go, wow, damn, I didn't realize that last 15 minutes was so strong or so weak. And you go, how does it relate to where we are versus the open? You start interrogating it more and more. And this is so good from a non-coder's perspective, right? Because you upload a CSV file of, and that if you go to the AI hub page, there's a link to how to do that. You upload all that price data to ChatGPT, and you keep interrogating, you start to see sort of patterns that you might not have observed if you're kind of just watching price from a normal perspective. Awesome. More questions coming in. Thank you, John, by the way. Antonio says, hi, Mark. Maybe using AI to assemble and alert us on several key points of different charts when price reaches those areas, levels set by us or not. Yeah, Antonio, that would be pretty good. You can use I think it's agent mode, right? So you can say, I don't know if it's still valid, but you used to have to say to it, hey, at 4:30, say, remind me that it's the European close and tell me what the current high low. You can kind of ask for a report and stuff. And now obviously price alerts you use on your normal trading platform, but it's not long until all that stuff's integrated, and it's just you're really getting to know how to use the best of it. Gary says, thanks, Mark. Great presentation as ever. Appreciate your support, Gary, as ever. I'm trying to get into the habit of using AI. Comes that 30-day thing, Gary, I'll have you using it in no time. That's the point of that. In December, we're going to do that because I want those who want to learn it and want to make it a habit. This will help you get it a habit. If it's not for you, you probably wouldn't be on here anyway. But it's like anything, right? If you can do it for 30 days, it becomes a habit. If you can get it a habit, I think you'll find edge from it. I genuinely do. Mark R says, great content as always, Mark. Thank you so much. Appreciate that, Mark. Thank you, sir. John says, no, he doesn't. Mern, oh, mate, I'm going to butcher your name. Apologies. Minhart. That's exactly the right pronunciation. I read it. I paused. Minhart. Thank you. Best part of my Tuesday. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. John says, I agree. Believe in the infancy of a curve. Yeah, I think we are, John. That's why I forced myself to use it. Get in the tool. Use the tool. Understand the tool. And I think there's value now, but I also think the value, the big value is yet to come. Ricardo says, what's the most value have found in using AI, trading journal, trading review, psychology? I think all of those are from a brainstorming perspective. So trading psychology, how do I increase my size on these type of trades? These trades make me nervous when I'm going into this. I want to increase my size. What's a good framework for doing this? Hey, how do I understand more the relationship between this and I think just asking the questions, and you get to start using it every day. Anything that comes into your mind, you could even just talk, honestly, even just talking things through. I don't know, us guys aren't really that great at talking things through, right? But to AI you can, and you can sort of say, hey, listen, you know what, coming in today, we're gapping down, I'm already short on cable, I'm kind of thinking this could be a weekday, I don't want to, and letting it kind of just talk, and sometimes just talking through your ideas, I think is so useful. Felix says, great session, Mark. Thank you. Just some reflection. I would recommend asking probing questions back and then challenge it. Give it your doubts about its responses. Very good. Very good. Yes. I also find sometimes it starts to struggle and starts parroting the same stuff over, but it's getting better over time. Agreed, Felix. Very good comment. Thank you for putting that in. Yeah, you have to just keep unassuming that what it's saying is not quite accurate. And keep responding, keep probing. And when it gets a bit stuck, you go, okay, fine, you don't really know, do you? Paul Johnson says, thank you for the great session. Using AI is definitely the way to go. I appreciate that, Paul. John says, great session, Mark. Thank you for giving your time. You're very welcome, John. Thank you for your feedback. Edward says, thanks, Mark. Always appreciate to hear what you have to say. Appreciate you, Edward. Thank you. And John W says, many thanks for this evening. As always, thank you. I think I have everybody, and I appreciate it with thanks. I do, really do. I hope that's valuable to you guys. Next week, we're going to be talking about, set up some playbooks for maybe if you're a bit short on time. So if you're kind of working during the day, some of the sort of things you can do in the evening to kind of take advantage of the current volatility. I think that'll be good and useful for you if you're unable to sit there all day. And maybe you don't want to sit there all day and you kind of want to take advantage of some of these power hour or flushes in the evening. Anyway, let's see where we close. We've got less than an hour. Got less than an hour. We've got 50 minutes left on the day. We're sitting at lows. Do we bounce and roll over? Time will tell. Time will tell. Interesting times. Great time to be a trader. Anyway, thank you for coming, guys. Appreciate your support as always. Take care and keep your risk managed. Bye-bye.